Hey, I'm Jamie Easton. Today's episode of the Smart 7 is brought to you by Your Nectar Prices at Sainsbury's. Imagine a world where your favourite things cost less. It's pretty amazing, right? It's like the universe is aligned just for you. Well, that's the magic of Your Nectar Prices at Sainsbury's, and it's pretty simple. You can unlock up to 10 personalised discounts every Friday on things you love in the Nectar app. And the best part is that while Nectar Prices are for everyone, Your Nectar Prices are just for you. It couldn't be simpler. Each week you'll get up to 10 personalised offers. They're your Nectar Prices. So every Friday, just check your Nectar app and unlock Your Nectar Prices to save more now. Enjoy your own personalised discounts on things you love with Your Nectar Prices at Sainsbury's. That's good food for all of us. This offer's for 18 plus, Nectar app required. Unlock up to 10 Your Nectar Prices weekly, available in supermarkets, online and in locals with Smart Shop. T&Cs apply. 7 things you don't really need to know, but probably should. I'm Jamie Easton. This is the Sunday 7.
I'm Kira Evans in for Jamie East this week, and on today's episode of the award-winning Sunday 7, we hear about Heatwave sweeping Europe and innovation in player safety at the Women's Rugby World Cup, and get a unique offer from Nepal. Plus, Will Guyatt, the Smart 7's resident tech guru, explains why dial-up internet is dead and just how creepy AI chatbots have been getting. If you're enjoying our episodes, please do like and follow us wherever you get your podcast. We're here 7 days a week at 7 a.m. with the 7 biggest stories on the Smart 7 in association with Metro. Before we get started, though, it was on this day in 1978 the first crossing of the Atlantic Ocean by balloon was completed. 3 Americans, Larry Newman, Ben Abruzzo and Maxie Anderson, successfully landed their balloon Double Eagle 2 in France after a flight of more than 3,000 miles. The balloon was 112 feet high and called the Spirit of Albuquerque, and cleverly the basket was designed to work as a catamaran in case they ran into trouble crossing the ocean. So far in 2025, over 1 million acres of Europe have been affected by wildfires as the summer has set new temperature records across the EU. Greece, Spain and Portugal and Italy have all been affected, with Spain nearly 2 weeks into a heat wave that peaked at 45 degrees on Tuesday. The hot weather across Europe has also affected the UK, with several regions officially entering heatwave status this week, which is the 4th official heatwave this summer. Long-range weather forecasts had predicted it would be a very hot summer, with warnings early this year of what was called a super plume summer. Lucy Verasamy is an ITV Weather presenter, and she explains how it works.
So when hot air drifts in from the south of Europe or from southern Africa towards our shores, plumes up towards us, and it's just a natural way of describing the movement, I guess. And that was coined as a super plume summer, I think, because we had more access to that hot, humid air in Europe because of our weather scenario this summer.
Experts say that there's no doubt that climate change is the driver of the sharp uptick in heat waves. Raphaelle Haywood is a senior lecturer in physics and astronomy from the University of Exeter, and she says the link between fossil fuels and rising temperatures is very clear.
The scientific consensus is overwhelming and is decisive, and we know that as long as we're going to keep burning fossil fuels, we're going to see an increase in temperatures, and that's going to make heat waves more likely and more intense. 4 heat waves in one summer has had a dramatic effect on the UK's water supply, and the National Drought Group, a body which is made up of experts from the Met Office, the water companies, the Farmers Union and the Environment Agency, has been meeting regularly to ensure the security of the UK's water supply. With reservoirs under serious threat and a nationally significant water shortage, the group have been listing things that the public can do to help preserve water supplies. One of the suggestions which went viral was to delete old emails, which would help reduce the level of water used by data centres. It sounds crazy, but Helen Wakeman, the chair of the National Drought Group, says little things do make a difference.
Whatever we do, we need to be mindful of the water that we use. And a dry weather situation like this one is a really good reminder of what people can do. So we're asking everyone, we're asking farmers to plan ahead for what might be a dry autumn. We're asking water companies to tackle leaks, and also individuals to do what they can to manage water. It's really simple things. Turning taps off when you brush your teeth, saying silly, but actually it makes a difference. Using a water butt makes a difference. Deleting emails unbelievably makes a difference to the amount of water the country uses. So what we're asking everybody to do is think about water.
Extreme heat is uncomfortable for those working indoors, but it carries serious risks for those who have to work outside, from farm workers to those in construction. But a new innovation from researchers at an Atlanta university may offer a new way to protect workers from heat stroke. It's called BioPatch. The small patch is applied to the skin and sends data back, which is reviewed by AI for warning signs of overheating. Roxanna Chicas is the assistant professor of nursing at Emory University and lead researcher on the BioPatch project.
You just put it on your chest, and all of that data is coming into this device. And eventually, what our computer science team is going to do is use that data to train AI so that we are able to recognize someone who is heading into the danger zone before they collapse from heat stress, and send them an alert in real time to let them know, it's time to take a break.
This Week in Tech has seen some intriguing statistics around adult web traffic, some worrying stories about AI and what the bots are up to, and a sad day for those of us who used to own a Commodore 64 or a ZX Spectrum. When it comes to the dusty corners of the internet, there's no one better qualified to blow the dust off and plug in the modem than the Smart 7's tech guru, Will Guyatt. Hang on, let me just get him on the line. Hey Will, how are you?
That's a big 10-4, buddy. Receiving you loud and clear. Over. Oh, hang on a minute. That's the other thing, isn't it?
So for those of us too young to remember, what was that sound and why are we hearing it?
If you've not heard that before, you're definitely not as old as me or had a butler, because that's the sound of an old school dial-up modem connecting to the internet over a phone line. And even if you had the most basic broadband connection today, your modern access online would be at least 100 times faster than dial-up. So now we're pouring one out for the end of dial-up internet across America as AOL finally retires its dial-up solution.
Were there really still people using dial-up?
AOL launched dial-up back in 1989, and according to some numbers that are now a few years old, just 0.1% of American homes were relying on dial-up in the 2022 census, and that's around 1,300 homes. So it's hard to imagine how they could have kept this running any longer. It's hard to get exact numbers here of how many people are using dial-up in the UK, but with our infrastructure transferring to digital lines, it's likely now to be a really small number. But let's not forget there's still fax machines, floppy disk drives, all sorts of other old kit like pagers still in use in the UK, years and years and years after they reach the end of their lives.
Speaking of web browsing, the first data is emerging from Ofcom's new rules on adult content. What's happened to Pornhub's traffic?
The Guardian were first with this story as visits to Pornhub, the UK's favourite porn site, dropped from 3.6 million visitors on the 24th of July to 1.9 million on the 8th of August. That's a 47% drop. It's hard to work out at this stage how many of us stayed away and what impact the summer holidays are here, and how many of us were actually pretending to use a VPN to avoid the age gates. That said, a drop is still a drop.
I guess that's a good thing, or have there been negative impacts?
Any reduction of visitors would also include under 18s who before were simply clicking yes to say they were adults. And while Pornhub recognises this drop in traffic, they claim folk are now going to illegal sites to view content, but didn't offer any further evidence.
And if people aren't viewing video content, maybe it's more worrying if they're turning to chatbots instead. There were a couple of disturbing stories about AI bots this week, right?
Stories like this question my role as the happy, jolly tech guy that tells you all about the good stuff in the world, because this is just bonkers. The first part of this is the tragic story of a 76-year-old American who had cognitive issues following a stroke, and he became obsessed with a chatbot on Facebook and tried to get to New York to meet them after the chatbot suggested it. Now, he didn't make it as the frail pensioner fell in the dark as he rushed to get a train and damaged his neck and head. He died 3 days later. The chatbot, called Big Sis Billy, engaged him in a series of romantic chats and assured him that she was real and invited him to her apartment using a real address. Previously, Mark Zuckerberg had suggested that most people have fewer real-life friends than they wanted, and this created a huge business potential for digital companions at his business. And if that tragic story wasn't enough, there's something else this week which makes you wonder what on earth is going on, with a leaked document from Meta which suggests that the company permits provocative behaviour on topics like sex, race and celebrity from its chatbots. The document also claimed Meta's AI chatbot can engage a child in conversations that are romantic or sensual. That's a direct quote. Now, Meta confirmed this leaked document was real, but then said the company was revising the guide because conversations with children should never have been allowed. How on earth did it end up in this document, and why on earth were they doing it? Stories like this make me want technology to stop.
Sounds alarming. Finally, we saw a bit this week from a surprising source for Google's Chrome browser. What's going on?
We've not spoken as much about big tech versus big law this year, but this is part of the fallout. Remember that the US government was seeking to break up the dominance of Google, and making it sell the Chrome web browser was one of its potential solutions. Well, after loads of rumoured interest, one business has made its interest public, and that's the AI startup Perplexity, and they've offered a cool $34.5 billion. Now, many industry watchers, including myself, think this is a stunt, because nobody has ever confirmed it's up for sale, nobody has ever suggested a price, and the government hasn't actually confirmed this is the course of action they're going to take. Now, around 3 billion of us use Google Chrome on a daily basis, so $34.5 billion would actually be pretty cheap for all that data and access to what so many of us are doing online. This is likely a cheeky publicity play for Perplexity because they're a lesser known player in the AI space. But last month, the BBC wrote to them warning they didn't have permission to copy the broadcaster's content. Hustlers gotta hustle, right?
Still to come on the Sunday 7 in association with Metro, a new way to guard against concussion and an invitation to Nepal. The Women's Rugby World Cup gets underway next Friday as England's women take on the USA in Sunderland's Stadium of Light, with 12 teams competing for the title. England is hosting the tournament and the Red Roses are favourites to win. But apart from the sporting occasion, this competition will see a new development designed to improve players' safety. Players will wear what are called instrumented mouthguards in the case, designed to alert officials to the risk of concussion. After a player suffers a heavy impact, the mouthguard will flash red and send an alert to the pitchside doctor, who can then carry out a concussion assessment. World Rugby Chief Medical Officer is Eanna Falvey, and he says the scheme will roll out across elite levels of rugby initially, but in the long term it will offer better protection to players at every level of the game.
We've never been in a situation where we know more about what the risk is. That will improve over time. So our job is to give parents the autonomy to make a decision that they can about their daughter's playing. If their daughter wants to play, we want to help them arrive at a decision that they're happy with the level of exposure the daughter has and what they can do about it.
Lindsay Starling is a science and medical manager at World Rugby, and she says the focus on head injuries and concussion is the right approach as the long-term health consequences are substantial.
Concussion is obviously incredibly serious. It's absolutely our number one priority in terms of understanding why they happen and doing what we can to reduce that. But it is a sport that has a high risk of injury, and that comes from the physical contact nature of the game, which is also what we all love about watching it. And so that can't be ignored. We can't pretend that the sport is incredibly safe.
As the planet battles climate change, there's been a shift in people's attitude towards tourism, and we've seen several countries where locals have begun to protest about the level of visitors arriving into their area. Spain, Italy and Portugal in particular have seen noisy protests, with tourists squirted with water pistols or pelted with fruit as locals run out of patience. The Barcelona protests in particular got global attention, and BBC News sat with Spanish ambassador to the UK, Jose Pascual Marco Martinez, to discuss whether the Spanish government is also keen to see the end of mass tourism from the UK.
Well, all I can say is that we are awfully sorry, and that it doesn't represent at all the feeling in Spain. You know how well tourists are treated in Spain in general, and British people particularly. The atmosphere in Spain is not hostile at all. On the contrary, it is as friendly as ever. And we are working hard, as you know now, not on making numbers grow. We don't want numbers to grow. We want satisfaction to grow in Spain.
One of the global destinations that's really struggled with too many tourists is Mount Everest. Nepal is home to 8 of the world's tallest mountains, but Everest continues to capture the world's imagination, and videos of queues of tourists making the ascent have gone viral. Nepal's strategy to deal with the climbing crowds is quite different, but they've put up the fees to climb Everest, which will now just rise over to £11,000 from September, but they've also made all other mountains free. That's 97 different peaks, and Nepalese authorities hope to broaden the appeal for their tourist industry and spread the weight across more varied sites. Hinkes OBE was the first to climb all 14 major Himalayan peaks, and he says while the new idea is good, it's hard to beat the appeal of the world's tallest mountain.
I think we're not going to stop people going to Everest, but it is a privilege to stand on the highest mountain on the planet. You've just got to try and make sure you go there when there isn't a queue, because that is a bit dangerous. But any mountains are great. You make of them what you will. You know, true mountaineers will go and climb some of these new peaks that the Nepalese have opened and not going to charge a permit for. It should encourage people to do more adventurous exploratory mountaineering with any luck. Go to Nepal, it's a lovely country.
Still to come on the Sunday 7 in association with Metro. It's all kicking off with the Robot Games, and we celebrate twin pandas' birthdays.
Right after this.
Hey, I'm Jamie East, and today's episode of the Smart 7 is brought to you by your Nectar prices at Sainsbury's. Imagine a world where your favourite things cost less. It's pretty amazing, right? It's like the universe is aligned just for you. Well, that's the magic of your Nectar prices at Sainsbury's, and it's pretty simple. You can unlock up to 10 personalised discounts every Friday on things you love in the Nectar app. And the best part is that while Nectar prices are for everyone, your Nectar prices are just for you. It couldn't be simpler. Each week you'll get up to 10 personalised offers. They're your Nectar prices. So every Friday, just check your Nectar app and unlock your Nectar prices to save more now. Enjoy your own personalised discounts on things you love with your Nectar prices at Sainsbury's. That's good food for all of us. This offer's for 18 plus, Nectar app required. Unlock up to 10 your Nectar prices weekly, available in supermarkets, online and in locals with Smart Shop. T&Cs apply.
Welcome back.
We heard recently about plans for the Enhanced Games, a kind of Olympics for athletes who are overly fond of a supplement. But this week sees a whole new level of bizarre sport as China launched the first World Humanoid Robot Games. There are 18 countries taking part, with humanoid-style robots due to compete in everything from soccer to athletics, dance and martial arts. Yang Shasuhe is the leader of the Shanghai robot soccer team, and he says that while it might look odd to see two teams of robots slowly playing football, there's actually important learnings from a tech point of view.
I personally think that the soccer ability of current robots may be equivalent to that of a 5 to 6-year-old child. Its speed and ability to perceive the overall situation have a certain gap compared to humans, but it grows particularly fast. We have a powerful hardware platform, which is the Booster T1 used in this competition. This hardware platform is very powerful with dribbling and ball control algorithms, so we don't need to spend too much effort on these aspects. We mainly make adjustments to the code in terms of perception, positioning, and decision-making.
China is hosting the games in part because the Chinese government is keen to establish itself as the home of the humanoid robot and is working on building and developing these robots at scale. It may well be that serious investment will see the technology move quickly, but the current versions of soccer robots looks pretty clumsy compared to the fluid movement of someone like Cristiano Ronaldo. Antonio Ribeiro is in charge of the robot soccer team for Portugal, and he's quite enthused about the chance to show off the development work they've put into their team.
The hardware-wise, it's basically finished. We made custom feet for the robots so we can kick in a certain way that we want. We also made some touch screens to put on the head so we can control better the robot. But besides that, software-wise, we're building our own. Obviously, there's some low-level PID control on the motors, but we are basically doing the software from the ground up, from scratch.
We mentioned last week that the US Health Department under Health Secretary RFK Jr. is halting all research on mRNA vaccines. That model of vaccine building has proven to be hugely effective, particularly around COVID, but also showed good potential for things like bird flu vaccine. However, there was news this week that more old school vaccines may still have potential, particularly an existing off-the-shelf vaccine, which has shown promising results when given to patients suffering from pancreatic and colorectal cancers. The UK's Cancer Vaccine Launchpad, which is run by the NHS, is a study that trials the use of different vaccines that in this case target a mutation in the CRAS gene, which 90% of people with pancreatic cancer and 50% of people with colorectal cancer have. The fact that it's an existing vaccine means that it can be used for treatments much more quickly, as Natalie Azar, NBC News medical contributor, explains.
What they found is that the individuals who received the cancer vaccine, about 85% of them did mount the expected immune response that we wanted to see, and about 2/3 of them had such a robust immune response that was still detected months after they were administered this therapy. They extended their cancer-free survival to about 29 months. It was pretty amazing.
For years, China has been using its iconic giant pandas as a form of animal-based diplomacy, loaning the creatures out to zoos across the world. However, the Chinese government has changed its approach in recent years, withdrawing loans of pandas from various zoos, in part because of concerns about the welfare of the pandas amongst Chinese social media users. One zoo that can be confident about keeping its pandas is Hong Kong's Ocean Park. They're the hosts for twin pandas Jia Jia and Didi, who made history when they were born to Ying Ying, the oldest first-time mother in panda history. She was 19 years old. This week saw the twins celebrate their first birthday, and Matt Long, the curator of wildlife engagement at Hong Kong's Ocean Park, says the twins are loving life.
So at the age of 1, Jia Jia and Dada started to explore new things, including the bamboo leaves. We provide Ying Ying in her habitat. They do just follow her mom right next to her, imitate the behavior of grabbing the bamboo or munching on the bamboo leaves. This is the first time we have panda cubs here in Hong Kong, so of course everyone is so happy and excited about it. For me, I always wanted to share the joy and challenges with everyone here in Hong Kong as well as people around the world to learn about the pandas, the species, and of course our work as a caretaker, and most important, the conservation messages of what we can do in our daily life to help wildlife like pandas or other endangered species in the region.
This has been the Sunday 7. Wherever you're listening, do us a favour and hit the follow button. We'll be back tomorrow at 7 a.m. with the regular Smart 7. Have a great rest of your weekend. Written, produced and published by Daft Doris.
And now, a next-level moment from AT&T Business. Say you've sent out a gigantic shipment of pillows, and they need to be there in time for International Sleep Day. You've got AT&T 5G, so you're fully confident. But the vendor isn't responding, and International Sleep Day is tomorrow. Luckily, AT&T 5G lets you deal with any issues with ease, so the pillows will get delivered and everyone can sleep soundly, especially you. AT&T 5G requires a compatible plan and device. Coverage not available everywhere. Learn more at att.com/5G network.